So here's a fascinating puzzle for you. How can two totally different worldviews get to the exact same, really radical conclusion about how we should treat each other? I mean, we're talking about an 11th century Persian thinker who believed in an eternal soul, and on the other hand, the Buddha, who taught that the whole idea of a self is just an illusion. It sounds impossible, right? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today.
Everything really kicks off with this incredibly powerful verse from the Quran. Now, this isn't just, a nice piece of advice. It's more like a statement of cosmic moral math. It's basically saying that the value of one life is equal to the value of all of humanity. It really sets the stage for this huge idea that what happens to one person is somehow mystically tied to the fate of everyone. The big question is, how?
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the theistic take on this idea. Then, we'll jump over to a surprisingly similar concept in Buddhism. After that, we're going to dig into the one huge difference between them, see how they still end up in the same place, and then wrap it all up by connecting it to a question that people have been asking forever.
Okay, let's start with the 11th century Persian philosopher Nasir Khosrow. He looked at that Quranic verse we just saw and didn't just see a rule, he saw a whole philosophy about how deeply connected we all are.
This is where Khosrow's idea gets really, really interesting. He says, think of all of humanity as if it were a single person, a single body. So if you help one person, you're essentially helping the whole body. And if you hurt one person, you're hurting the whole body. Why? Because from his perspective, every single human soul comes from one single universal soul, which itself comes directly from God. So we're not just metaphorically brothers and sisters, we are, spiritually speaking, literally parts of the same divine being.
And this brings us to the crucial part, the sheer theological weight of it all. For Khosrow, doing something unjust isn't just a social mistake or a crime. No, it's way bigger than that. It's like you're actively signing up to be a business partner with Satan. You are choosing to join the side of cosmic evil, whose only goal was to tear down everything God created. The stakes just could not be higher.
Okay, now let's take a hard turn into a completely different way of thinking. You'll see how Buddhism gets to a very similar ethical place, but not because of a divine command from God. Instead, it gets there just by looking really, really closely at how reality actually works.
The key idea here is something called interbeing, or dependent origination. It sounds complex, but the core of it is simple. Nothing exists all by itself. Nothing. The flower is a perfect example. You look at a flower and you think, that's a flower. But is it? Really, it's made of sunshine, rain, soil, and the air, all things that are non-flower. If you take away the sun or the rain, poof, no more flower. It depends on everything else to exist. And the same goes for us. We're all woven into this giant web of cause and effect, where every single thing we do, thanks to karma, sends ripples out into the universe.
So, if we're all connected like that, why on earth do we hurt each other? Well, Buddhism says it comes down to these three poisons. You've got greed, which is that endless feeling of I want, I need, I gotta have it. Then there's hatred, or aversion, which is the pushing away. I don't want that, get it away from me. But the real root of it all, the poison that feeds the other two, is ignorance. And we're not talking about a lack of book smarts here. We're talking about the deep, fundamental delusion that we are separate little islands, that myself is totally independent from yourself. From that one simple misunderstanding, all greed, all hatred, and all suffering begins.
And that right there, that idea of a separate self, brings us to the giant chasm between these two philosophies. It all boils down to one question. What even are you? Who or what is the self?
Okay, look at this side by side. On one hand, Nasir Khosrow's whole system is built on the idea of a real, individual, eternal soul, the nafs. It's this soul that's accountable to God, and our job in life is to purify it. But then, you look at the Buddhist view, and it makes this absolutely radical claim. That feeling you have of being a solid, permanent me inside your head, it's an illusion, it's a trick of the mind. And worse, it's that very illusion, that clinging to a me, that is the direct cause of all our pain and suffering.
And this isn't just some vague idea. It's central to the teaching. This quote from the Dhammapada, which is a foundational Buddhist text, puts it so bluntly. All dharmas are without self. The word dharmas here basically means, well, everything. All phenomena, all things you can possibly experience. The teaching is absolute. Nothing, not a rock, not a tree, not you, has a permanent, unchanging, independent soul at its core.
So, what are we left with? We have two completely different maps of reality. One map starts with a single creator and billions of individual souls. The other map starts with a single interconnected web and absolutely no permanent self.
So how on earth do they both end up pointing to the same ethical destination?
This table just lays it all out so clearly. Let's walk through it. For Khosrow, the foundation is a divine decree, an order from God that you follow. For Buddhism, it's natural law, a truth about reality that you discover for yourself. The reason we should be compassionate is different too. In the theistic view, it's because we're all God's creation. In the Buddhist view, it's because we are all interdependent. Your well-being is literally tied to mine. The ultimate goals are different too, obeying God versus ending suffering. But then you get to the bottom line, the grand conclusion, and it's exactly the same, universal compassion. It's just wild.
And you know, this incredible overlap isn't just some quirky coincidence between two Eastern philosophies. This question of how we're all connected is a timeless human obsession. You see it pop up again and again all across the world and throughout history. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Drop a comment below, I'd love to hear what you think. Your support really means a lot and helps me keep creating content for you all. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Just look at Western thought. Back in ancient Greece and Rome, you had the Stoics. They talked about being citizens of the world, or cosmopolitans. They believed we were all bound together by something they called the logos, a kind of universal reason or divine fire. Then, fast forward a couple thousand years to the German philosopher Immanuel Kant. He came up with his famous categorical imperative, which is a fancy way of saying, only act in a way that you'd be okay with everyone else in the world acting all the time. Both of these ideas, coming from totally different places, still push us to see our own individual actions as part of a much bigger interconnected human story.
So in the end, we're left with this massive, powerful question. Maybe it doesn't matter which map you prefer, the one that shows a single creator or the one that shows a single web of reality. Because both maps lead you to this profound place of realizing how connected we all are. And that forces us to ask if every single thing we do, every small act of kindness, every flicker of cruelty ripples out across this shared existence, what kind of responsibility does that put on each of us, right here and right now? What are we really setting in motion with our very next choice?